Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. Today's video is part of a Summer Squash and Veggies Challenge collab hosted by DIY from House to Home. I'll have her channel as well as the collab playlist linked down in my description box below. As soon as you're done watching my video, be sure to check both her channel and the collab playlist out for lots of other yummy, delicious summer squash and vegetable recipes. If you're coming to my channel from the playlist, welcome. I do weekly what's for dinner videos, grocery hauls, recipe videos, and more. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you'll consider subscribing to my channel. If you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thanks so much for coming back. I really appreciate your support. In today's video, I'll be sharing two recipes for a zucchini bread as well as squash muffins. Let's get into these recipes. First up, I'm making my Grandma Lois's zucchini bread. My Grandma Lois was my dad's mom. She passed away when I was, I believe, 8 years old, so I didn't really get to know her that well. I don't believe I've ever had this zucchini bread, and this is the first time that I tried to make it, but it was really nice to have one of her recipes, something that she used to make, and to be able to make it and, you know, just kind of connect with her through food in a way. So let me show you the ingredients that you'll need. This was delicious. I recommend you all give this recipe a try. I'll link her recipe in the description box below, so check that for the amounts. Here are the ingredients you'll need: some sugar, all-purpose flour. Her recipe just calls for nuts, and I wasn't sure exactly what kind she used, but I like walnuts in my banana bread, so that's what I'm using today. You'll, of course, need zucchini, eggs, ground cinnamon, vanilla, oil, baking soda, salt, and then something to grease your pan with. I'm using some cooking spray today. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to shred my zucchini. I love this shredder here. I have it linked in my description box below. I got it off of Amazon. I'm not sponsored, but I love this thing. I use it for cheese and vegetables. I'm just going to shred the zucchini and set it aside. Next, in this mixing bowl, I'm going to add in my eggs, my vanilla extract, then the sugar, and I'm going to whisk that until it's well combined. Now I'm going to add in my oil. I'm using vegetable oil today. Once I've added the oil, I'm going to whisk that again until it's well combined. I'm going to set my wet ingredients to the side, and in this next mixing bowl, I'm going to sift in my flour. I'm going to add the salt, baking soda, and cinnamon and sift that as well. And a quick note here, as I was making this, to me it kind of seemed like a lot of cinnamon. I thought it was going to be overpowering, but it wasn't at all. It was just perfect. Next, I'm going to take my spatula and make a well in the center of the flour mixture. I'm going to add my wet mixture to my dry, and then using a spatula, I'm going to fold that together just a little bit and start to kind of combine it. Then I'm going to add my shredded zucchini and my walnuts, and then I'll stir this until the mixture is combined. Now, you don't want to over mix this, so as soon as I see all of the flour has been absorbed, I'm going to stop mixing. Next, I'm going to spray my baking dishes. Now, the recipe calls for just a regular size loaf pan, but I'm using these little mini loaf pans today. This recipe made 4 of these little loaf pans. I'm going to spray them really well, and then I just distributed the batter as evenly as I could amongst the 4 pans. And these disposable pans, they can be kind of flimsy, so just to make it easier to get in and out of the oven on me, I'm just going to place them onto a cookie sheet, and then I'm placing this into my preheated oven and bake this for about an hour or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Here are the finished little mini loaves as they came out of the oven. I just allowed them to cool for a few moments on the cookie sheet, and then I transferred them to a wire rack, turned the zucchini bread out, and then allowed it to cool completely. Here is the sliced bread. Like I said, this was delicious. It was really good. I recommend you all give this a try. Next up, I'm making squash muffins. I really only make this about once a year, and it's usually towards the end of summer when squash are very plentiful and super cheap. This is a super easy recipe. You don't need a lot of ingredients. Here are the ingredients that you'll need. You'll need some yellow squash. Now, I wasn't thinking today, and I only grabbed 3 yellow squash. You really need about 4 medium squash. So I had an extra zucchini left over that I needed to use up, so I just used that, and it tasted just fine. You'll need some butter, salt, some baking powder, some flour, sugar, and eggs. To get started, I have washed the squash, I cut off the ends, and then slice them into about 1-inch thick slices. You don't have to be too precise with this, just if you cut them a little bit thick, it may take a little longer to cook. But I'm going to cover these with water, bring them to a boil, and boil these for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, or when the squash is nice and tender, I've drained it really well, and then I'm going to just use my masher and mash this up and allow this to cool. I've got my oven preheated to 375 degrees. I'm going to add my cooled squash into this mixing bowl. Next, I'm going to add in my melted butter that I've allowed to cool just slightly. Then I'm going to add my eggs and whisk that until it's well combined, and then I'm going to set that aside. I will have this recipe as well linked in the description box below, so if you'd like the exact measurements for this, be sure to check that out. In this mixing bowl, I'm going to add my dry ingredients, and I'm going to sift those. So I'm going to add in my flour, then the sugar and the baking powder, and I'm sifting those as well. I'm also going to add in the salt. I'm going to take my spatula and make a well in the flour mixture, and then I'm going to add my wet to dry, and using that same spatula, I'm going to combine them. Now, just like with the zucchini bread, you want to make sure that you don't overmix this, so I'm going to just kind of gently fold it, and as soon as all of the flour is absorbed, I'm going to stop. I've sprayed my muffin tin really well with some cooking spray, and I like to use these ice cream scoops when I make cupcakes, muffins, or cookies. So I'm going to scoop these out into my muffin tin. I decided to do 6 plain, and then I added some raisins to the rest of the batter, mixed that gently, and then added the mixture with the raisins. I'm going to place these into the preheated oven for about 20 minutes or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Here are the muffins out of the oven. I allowed them to cool for about 10 minutes in the pan, and then I removed them to wire racks and allowed them to cool completely. You'll want to store these and the zucchini bread in some sort of an airtight container. Here's the finished muffins. We actually like the ones with raisins the best. I know that these might sound really simple and that they maybe would be kind of bland because there were no spices in them, no vanilla, and they are pretty simple, but they are tasty. I like to make a batch of these, and then because it's just my husband and I, normally we can't get through a whole batch before they would start to get, bad. So I like to put these in the freezer and then pull them out, and it makes a really quick breakfast. This recipe for the squash muffins and the zucchini bread are both really great recipes to use if you have leftover squash or zucchini, or if you just like to make them, while they're a really great price in the grocery store. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And don't forget to check out the collab playlist. Again, it'll be linked in the description box below. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.